Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Yegor Sak. He's the founder of Windscribe, a free VPN and ad block that has over 43 million active users. It's great to connect with you, Yegor. I know we got a lot to kind of dive into. You started and grew Windscribe with zero outside capital. Let's start there. Made the business profitable by month 2 and currently are doing around 3 million in annual revenue. So let's talk about that journey because I'm a business coach. I'm working with businesses all the time. People are always asking me or sharing with me that they want to start their own company, but they don't want to bring in capital. Let's kind of talk about how you built a business with no outside capital and what that took and what you're still doing from those kind of fundamental lessons.
Right. Well, first of all, let me correct you on some of those numbers. So we have over 46 million not active users, total users that have ever tried us. Our active numbers are a subset of that total amount. It's still measured in the millions, but it's not. We don't have 40x million active users, right?
Oh.
It's less than that, and our revenues are also quite a bit higher than what you mentioned. It's in the double digits, millions. Yeah.
All right. Well, have your PR group update the form when they say
well, we don't have a PR group. We have no marketing department. Period. So that might be
have
why.
your marketing department update the numbers. So thanks for clarifying that. Which is by the way is a good thing to just chat about for 2 seconds before we go in to the conversation. Think community. It's really important. Things are changing so fast. Numbers are changing so fast. Internal things that are happening in your company, make sure that when you are doing press releases or on your website or getting somebody within your company on a podcast, that those numbers are you're not just cutting and pasting, you're really updating everything to make sure it's live. Okay, Yegor, now let's jump in. Okay, so we clarified the numbers. That's great. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about how you did it.
Right. So Windscribe was founded in about 2016, which is about a year in development. Before that, I come from a very different background. So before Windscribe, I was operating kind of like a software development firm, just building other projects for other people. Some of them were very fruitful. A lot of them were not. And I kind of got fed up with just working on other people's projects. So I figured, hey, let's do something of our own, something that I'm somewhat passionate about, at least at the time, and build something that was better than existed before. Right.
Yeah.
So put together a small team. Took the money that I've earned through previous projects, kind of bootstrapped the whole thing, and it took about a year to get the 1.0 version out the door, and we started generating revenue pretty much right away. Obviously, you have to keep the costs low. Basically, work for free yourself, and the only expenses that you have are external contractors and the server bills. Effectively, everything else is you pay through sweat until you're generating enough revenue to pay your own mortgage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute because, paying in sweat in the first year and taking your funds, once you have an idea, I think a lot of times people have ideas and they are committed to the idea. But I think the question then is, do they have the courage to actually jump in and start, putting their own money into a deal, so into their business so they can actually grow it and scale it. So can you just talk a little bit more about the courage that took and the vision that you had and how you kept on maybe connecting the courage to the vision because you knew something was there that you were building?
Right. Well, I kind of had no choice because I was fired from every single job that I ever had in my entire life. And then, around the age of 19, I'm like, okay, I clearly can't follow instructions. So I probably should do something on my own.
Yeah.
That's the only way, right? So for me, there was absolutely no choice but to proceed, right? And this was not my first rodeo, right? I've done a bunch of things in the past, even before the development agency. So yeah, there's simply no other way to do it but just move forward and spend all the time that you have on the idea that you have, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to do anything for you, at least in the early days, right?
Yeah.
You bring up yourself.
Yeah, but you bring up something interesting. I mean, you seem like a real visionary, and a lot of times visionaries do get fired from their job, and sometimes getting fired from their job is, maybe it's just the universe kind of guiding you to get to your own company, maybe a little bit faster. So congratulations on getting fired, right? So it allows you to kind of find your voice. As let's talk about the company right now. The company Windscribe, browse the web privately as it was meant to be. Your online privacy is under attack. Windscribe sets you free, is what someone would see if they go to windscribe.com. So describe a little bit about the product.
Right. So I mean, at its core, Windscribe is a VPN, right? There are many VPNs out there. You probably heard them be advertised by every single YouTube channel out there. And the things that you probably heard about them are simply not true. It's just all marketing speak and snake oil salesmanship, which is why we don't participate in any of those types of things. Windscribe does not advertise. We don't sponsor anyone to speak anything in any fashion about us. All we concentrate on is the product itself and make it as good as possible, and hopefully people will like it. Right? That's been our mantra. So I mean, VPNs kind of have, I would say, somewhat of a negative image because of the marketing efforts of the the VPNs that you probably heard of pretty much everywhere. You'll if you search for them, you'll see their ads follow you around the internet, trying to sell you a privacy service that allegedly eliminates tracking while engaging in the same tracking practices that they claim they will stop. So to us, that's highly hypocritical and just like borderline dishonest, right? And that's why we kind of have this like hard stance of let your product speak for itself, and we're not going to pay anyone to say nice things about us.
Yeah.
If anyone is saying nice things about us because they actually truly enjoy the product, we haven't paid them to say anything of that sort.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to comment on that. I love mastersclass.com. They have these great classes, and you can take from all of these, incredible business people. I just took one with Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx. And for the first, I want to say 16 years, give or take, they did no advertising. It was all people who just loved their product. So similarly, it sounds like you're taking that same path, which is, the proof is in what people say about us, because we're not paying anybody to actually say it about us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And once you bring it down to its kind of core, a VPN will not give you privacy or 100% anonymity or any of these superlatives that are being used to market VPNs. Like, it literally will not do any of those things. Like, like the VPN technology at its core, it just all it does, it links computers together, right? And VPN technology was not built for privacy or anonymity of any kind. It's simply used to kind of deliver on some of the marketing claims, but in many cases, just simply tunneling to a remote server and changing your external IP will do very little for your privacy. For simple reasons, like as you browse, on a computer or using your phone, your phone has a multitude of sensors that collect all kinds of stuff, starting from your GPS location, which is then sent to all the apps that you probably have installed, and some of them have access to your microphone camera. They can collect a lot of stuff, right? And simply changing your IP address will do effectively nothing, right? Because I mean, all your activity is easily correlated. Here's your old IP address. Here's a new one. Cool, it's a VPN IP, but it makes no difference in the grand scheme of things. And that's basically the core product offering of, I would say, most VPNs, right? Where does Windscribe go beyond that? So like to like kind of like even have a remote sense of any kind of privacy, you have to go beyond than just changing the user's IP address, right? So that's why like Windscribe has tracker and blocking like built in, because ads and trackers are effectively what is used to violate your privacy, right? So if you're able to prevent the device from accessing those trackers, and including ads, because all ads are inherently trackers, right? Every single one. If you can prevent them from loading on the device, that will improve your privacy somewhat, right? At least more than a simple VPN would, right? So that's just ad and tracker blocking. On a desktop computer, you can install our browser extensions, which also work in tandem with our applications to go way beyond than just blocking ads and trackers. They can do all kinds of nerdy things like rotate your user agent. They can reduce fingerprinting. They will rotate your browser's time zone and language settings to simulate the location that you pretend to be in by connecting to, Japan, for example, right?
Yeah.
Because if you connect to Japan, but your time zone in the browser, which every website can access, is Eastern Standard Time,
Yeah.
and your browser language is English, you're probably not in Japan, most likely. You could be an expat with your computer, but it's very trivial to see. Okay, this IP is a data center and Eastern Time Zone. This person is a VPN user,
Yeah.
and they're in fact in North America and not in Japan, even if you don't look at GPS or anything of that matter.
Yeah.
Right.
All
So
right.
there's a lot of bits and pieces here, and
Yeah, it's good to kind of, get that download from you to understand kind of where Windscribe really can just protect somebody's privacy.
nothing
Yeah.
is 100%. Windscribe will not give you 100% privacy or anything, because privacy and anonymity is a mindset. Using a VPN is a tool in your tool belt if you
Yeah.
want to achieve greater privacy and greater anonymity, which are two different things. But it's not by any means like the only solution or the only tool that you would have to use.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I love it. Well, thanks for sharing that. So you're quite the entrepreneur. I want to chat with you a little bit about. I know you've got another company kind of in the same walls of your company, founder of Control ID, a fully customized DNS service. I know you. It sounds like you chatted a little bit about kind of how that works, but how. Let's talk a little bit about how how are you growing both companies, and how do you kind of divide up your time?
Right. Yeah, company is called Control D. Yeah, common I guess word typo is ID, but it's controld.com. But yeah, so that's a kind of a very different service in terms of technology from Windscribe, and that's something we're building in house for the last 2 years. That company is more or less kind of like in almost stealth mode. We have not really advertised it anywhere. It's just simply available, and those who find out about it are welcome to go and use it right now. It's very much in beta stages right now and currently available only for consumers. However, we envision that the business level applications of the platform that we're building there are going to be a lot more useful, and we'll have a lot higher ROI for all the efforts that we've put into it.
Yeah.
In the last several years.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it differs from Windscribe in a sense that it's not a VPN. All right, there's no applications to install. It's a DNS service, which I don't know how familiar you are. I don't want to maybe I don't know how technical your listeners are in terms of what the hell is DNS and why should I
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
But
Describe it a little
yeah,
bit.
but the long story short, DNS is the domain name system. All the service does is convert. When you type in google.com, your browser will talk to your router, and the router will talk to a DNS server. They'll say, where is google.com? And it will return an IP address. Your computer will then connect to that IP address. It's basically a global phone book. That would be an analogy for the internet, right? Here's the name, and it maps to this IP address. So, you're probably familiar with, Cloudflare and Google DNS. There's a lot of public DNS services out there. Every single ISP operates one. If you've never changed your DNS server, you're probably using your ISP's DNS server. And by the virtue of that, your ISP has effectively a complete browsing history of all their customers that are using their DNS servers, right? Just by the virtue of them using the defaults, right? So Control D is a DNS service that does do these things as well, but it goes well beyond that in the sense that it's user customizable. So you can choose what things resolve to what for you specifically, and by you I mean your network or your personal device. So it has some overlap with what Windscribe can do in the sense of blocking ads and trackers. You can effectively toggle a switch, and then your personal DNS server will just not resolve any domains that are advertising or tracking, or let's say you're on a child-friendly network, you want to block adult content and gambling and that type of stuff. So you can just toggle some switches, and now these websites just don't exist for you, right? And they cannot be accessed. It does a lot more than that. I don't want to bore everyone here, but that's kind of like the core technology.
It's good. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I think, right now everybody's, I think it's a responsibility to learn a little bit more about technology. And it's good that you're giving some kind of snippets to kind of educate people. So we do know. Just changing topics a little bit, what's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
Uh, I mean, it's kind of like the most favorite part, I guess, and the least favorite part is, not having a boss is great,
Yeah,
but also at the end of the day, it comes with a lot of responsibility because at the end of the day, any failure of any kind done by anyone who works underneath you is your failure, right?
yeah,
Because you allowed it to happen.
yeah,
So you have ultimate responsibility for everything that happens, and the people that you employ, their livelihoods, are effectively at stake. But based
yeah,
on the choices that you make, and some of these choices could, kind of like come to fruition much later, and the mistakes that you've made, 6 months ago or a year ago materialize much later.
yeah,
In many cases, it's kind of like, oh, it might be even too late to fix some of these mistakes.
yeah,
Depends on the severity, of course.
yeah.
So yeah.
It's interesting. I'm a business coach, and I find that a lot of the CEOs that I work with, from Fortune companies to solopreneurs, share that with me a lot as one of their reasons they love working with me is because they don't have anybody else to talk to kind of brainstorm with, to, think about ideas, because they don't have a boss. And sometimes they can't even talk to their, C-level execs or leadership team because they need to kind of dissect things. So, yeah, but I think that is probably the hardest part. I mean, even as a business coach, I have a business coach because I have my own business, but I think we all need those mentors and people to talk to. So, yeah,
Yeah,
Igor,
absolutely. Yeah, I
yeah,
have two co-founders as well, so that's
yeah,
super helpful because you don't want to
yeah,
be like in a vacuum chamber surrounded by yes people,
no, you
because
do
then
not.
you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You need that
Yeah,
pushback. It's like, hey, this idea, maybe this idea is not that great, even
right.
even because you think, even if you think so. Here's why
Yeah,
it sucks, all
yeah,
right? And then that debate,
right. You need it. You
yeah,
need it.
is
That's what
super
builds the
useful.
best, like, nuance ideas. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, quick speed round for you. A book that's had the biggest impact on you.
um, Hmm, I don't know. It's hard to say like there's one single book that had the biggest impact. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of like I don't personally read a lot of like kind of like self-help
Yeah,
type books. Whenever I do read books and primarily listen to, because I simply don't have the time to sit just
yeah,
casually on the weekend and just read a book. The only reading time I have is on the drive to the
yeah,
office and back, and basically I'm primarily listening to stuff.
yeah,
And in the last little while I've been primarily just it's good to kind of disconnect your brain from your day-to-day stuff to go into like a different world and then
yeah,
emerge from it sometimes, with a unique perspective. I don't know. I do enjoy some of the like sci-fi series.
yeah,
Like Seven Eves was a really good book.
yeah,
Uh, Children of Time. Like I like hard, futuristic sci-fi. Ian
yeah,
Banks novels are all pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of kind of like more educational nonfiction stuff,
No, that's
mm,
good. No,
yeah,
it doesn't have
honestly,
to.
nothing really pops into
Yeah.
mind because yeah,
No,
I
any
don't
book.
really spend a lot of time on those.
Yeah, any book.
Yeah,
Any book. There's no rules of the book. Best
yeah.
piece of wisdom you've ever received, Igor.
Best piece of wisdom. Hmm, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Kind of like putting me on the
Well,
spot here.
all right. Best piece of wisdom you would
Yeah.
give an entrepreneur today.
Never basically, if you have an idea, pursue it to its end.
Yeah,
Never like doubt yourself, especially if you're really passionate about something. Do take advice from other people, absolutely, but some of the times people will tell you, hey, that's just dumb, and they might be right, but sometimes maybe they're not, right? There's a lot of doubters out there, especially for crazy ideas and be like, oh, that will
yeah,
never work. Oh, that's a dumb idea. But if you feel passionate about it, and
do it.
you're sure in what you're building, and that it has some type of value that is useful to more people, than just yourself,
Yeah,
go all in on it. Because that's the if you don't, you will always have that doubt of
yeah,
like, oh, what if I actually did that, and that will eat you up.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's better to try and fail than to just not try at all.
yeah. And you don't want to look back with regret. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and where they can connect with you and your website and everything else.
Right. Well, in its current form, both our companies are primarily consumer oriented. Right. However, we are building quite a bit of business level tooling for Control D, especially, which will be primarily a business oriented platform in 2023. We are looking for pilot projects across all different industries: hospitality, private Wi-Fi network operators, MSPs, those types of folks. And we're working with a couple already, and taking their feedback into the product to build them kind of utilities that they would want to see to solve the problems that they have. So if any folks are in those types of industries or any other industries that literally operates networks that could be public or private for employees, you can reach out to me directly or just at the general mailbox, which is hello@controld.com, or my first name, Yegor @controld.com.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, good. Yegor, this was great. Loved learning about you, learning about your business. Think community. I'm a business coach. I work with successful people who are stuck and get them unstuck. And I love this podcast because I have guests to help you get unstuck. And Yegor shared a lot to help you get unstuck. First and foremost, making sure that we are, studying and understanding certain technical things that are going on, and where we need to kind of maybe do that 1 to 2 minutes of research every single day to make sure we're in the know. But I also just want to extract something that I also thought was great that you talked about: follow your passion, take it to the end. It requires a lot of time and energy to do it. But if you have a clear vision, great things can happen with consistent execution. Yegor, thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, I do have one more piece of advice, very much related to that.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound very obvious, but given the current market and the shit show that's happening in the VC world right now, is your company should generate more revenue than you spend. If you follow that one simple rule, you will be fine.
Yeah. That's great. Right. No matter what you do, you got to make money. And
growth is useful. It's great,
Correct.
but you should not be burning millions of dollars
Right.
and just wait for the next VC round
Correct.
to sustain yourself. That's many cases it's a recipe for disaster, as we
Yeah.
will see very shortly.
Yeah, no, seriously. This was great. If Think Community, if you want to get a hold of Yegor at the company, check out windscribe.com. If you want to get a hold of me, check out jondwoskin.com. Thanks for listening. And Yegor, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Nice talking to you.